The DOJ clamping down on catch-and-release immigration laws. The Trump administration unveiling new, tougher border enforcement policies to cut down on illegal crossing into the United States. The legislation now states that parents bringing their children over the border illegally will likely be separated if caught. However, families seeking asylum and presenting themselves at the border crossings will still be allowed to stay together. Joining me now, former Pinal County, Arizona Sheriff Paul Babu, back with us. Harmeet, Dhillon, and Fort O'Connor. Sheriff, it's been a while. Great to see you.
Yes, sir. Great to see you, Charles.
Let's talk about this because obviously it's going to be portrayed as something that's compassionate. It's not compassionate, ripping families apart. But you do have to wonder to what degree. Right now, we know that the current system is being abused and something has to be done.
It is. It's about enforcing the laws that are on the books. And finally, we have a president, and President Trump, that's going to empower the bureaucracy to do its job, to enforce the law, to secure our border. And we haven't had that. So it's about time.
Ford, we've been hearing that this was coming. It's finally here. What kind of an impact do you expect it will have?
Hopefully a very positive impact, Charles. Look, illegal immigration surged 230% in April compared to last year, and the reason's very simple. Illegal immigrants do not fear the legal consequences. The practice of catch and release has to stop because essentially you cannot feed the notion that if you come here illegally, you got to stay. As for breaking up families, hopefully this will be an effective deterrent. 7 years ago, only 10% were family units that came across. Now we're up to 40%. This has to stop. Congress doesn't seem to care, and the Trump administration, no matter what the Democrats say, is acting within the law.
Harmeet, on the issue of the law, is this acting within the law?
Absolutely. This is actually compelled by the law. And the reason that the government has to do this is that, number one, if they want to prosecute immediately rather than just sort of let them go, and what they have been doing in the past is busing these families back to Mexico rather than prosecuting them. Now they have 100% prosecution. However, you can't keep children in the federal detention facilities under a number of court rulings. So the only way you're going to be able to prosecute the parents is by separating the children out and sending them to a safe place. It is unfortunate that the parents have subjected their children to this situation, but it is their choice. Now, it is a separate situation if they come to the border through one of the asylum portals. But again, most of these people are not fleeing any kind of persecution that is normally recognized by our asylum laws. They're economic refugees, and while we sympathize with them, America can't be the dumping ground for all of the world's problems, unfortunately.
Of course, President Trump weighed in on this several times last week, including Saturday. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
Our borders and our laws are a mess. Our immigration laws are a disgrace. We may have to close up our country to get this straight. And these are the laws passed by Democrats so that we have open borders. They want open borders. We have to have borders. If you don't have borders, you don't have a country.
So, Sheriff, you dealt with this firsthand. Explain,
yes,
in real life, someone who had to deal with this, what President Trump is trying to explain to the American people.
Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of illegals, many of them are criminals that come into our country flouting the law. And that's why one of the prime reasons why we have to secure the border. But also about that, everybody's screaming, rightly so, about the opioid crisis in America. Well, guess what? The Sinaloa cartel that my sheriff's office fought, largest drug bust in the history of my state against them, $3 billion. They're bringing in 80% of the fentanyl into the United States. This is the heroin that's coming in, that's killing people all over the United States, 120 a day. We need to secure the border. Congress needs to hold hearings about this to bring the focus, as they did with doctors and medical practices that were abusing the scripts.
Right.
Well, this is where it's at now. And so I call upon Congress to back the president up, to secure the border, to deal with the opioid crisis in America.
You talk about flouting the law. Keith Ellison was seen over the weekend in a T-shirt advocating open borders. So, there you have it, right in your face. We're not going to comply with this. We're not going to cooperate. We believe there should be no borders. It's an interesting way of thinking for a country that's trying to find jobs and trying to train native-born Americans.
Well, Congressman Ellison is concerned about the demographics and the potential potential ballot box implications of illegal immigration. But the sheriff is absolutely right. We need an effective deterrent, and that needs to be a zero-tolerance border enforcement. And to Harmeet's point, understand something about asylum, which no one's really talking about, is 10 years ago, only 1 in 100 were claiming asylum. Now it's 1 in 10. There's loopholes everywhere, and we got to plug those holes any way possible.
All right, guys. Thank you all very, very much. Again, don't forget tomorrow, the West Virginia vote's going to be critical, very important. Neil